All right, we're gonna be making a simple chocolate cake dessert. It looks real good and it tastes even better. Oh, hold up. I gotta be completely honest with you. I wasn't gonna make this video, but I've been seeing this trend where people are sneaking vegetables into their desserts like they're part of some sort of ninja covert nutrition mission. I think I just saw beets and spinach in donuts, and we've all seen black beans and brownies. And you know what? I get it. It's creative, it's interesting, but is it necessary? So I spent all night testing this recipe for chocolate cake, but here's where I'm coming from. Can't we just let dessert be dessert and vegetables be vegetables? And I know what you're gonna say. I gotta get my nutrients, man. I need to crank out those vitamins. I get that, but no one is walking around nutrient deficient because they didn't put kale in their cupcakes. But I have kids, don't you understand? They won't eat vegetables. I also have kids. I agree with you. It sucks. I wish they would eat more vegetables, but hiding vegetables in their treats isn't a way to get them to like real vegetables. If they never see them, they're never gonna recognize them. And I talk about it here in my video on health and nutrition, but you just gotta give them more opportunities to try it. Now, if I'm missing something, let me know in the comments, but fine, here we are. We're all playing hide the veggies. Now, let me try making a classic chocolate cake with sauerkraut. Okay, hold on, don't jump ship yet. Okay, look, I have a ton of sauerkraut in my fridge, and my wife, she just recently wanted me to get kimchi, so now the fridge behind me is like cabbage central. Plus, I'm pretty sure the Germans came up with this during the war. I mean, that's how carrot cake came about in like the United States or the UK. You know, there was like sugar rations in World War I, and then some genius thought, hey, carrots are sweet, so they started putting carrots in cake. But anyway, I thought, hey, my kids like chocolate cake. Could I be one of those genius hacks where I sneak in nutrients without ruining the dessert? And I get to use some of my industrial-sized Costco amount of kraut. Sauerkraut is fermented, full of gut-healthy bacteria, and packed with fiber. What's not to love? And sure, I know baking will probably kill the probiotics, but still, moisture, structure, maybe even flavor of death. So I made it, and it wasn't bad. Well, the cake is moist, but let's be real, so is a banana, or sour cream, or literally any other traditional ingredient we already use. Plus, I only used about 2/3 of a cup, or like 100 grams, which isn't very much. I'll share with you the recipe. The sauerkraut wasn't bringing anything special to the party except for being able to say like, hey, my chocolate cake has sauerkraut. That's when I realized, if we're gonna go all out of our way to make desserts healthier, we should just go all in. So I reworked the recipe, I tested it a couple of times, I probably should have slept, but here we are. Instead of just tossing in fermented cabbage and calling it a day, I lowered the calories, I upped the protein, and I kept it actually pretty good. All this, and no, we aren't adding cottage cheese. Let me show you how. Preheat the oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Grease and line a 9x13-inch baking pan with parchment paper. Let's start with the dry ingredients. It makes putting the cake together a little easier. Add 104 grams of all-purpose flour and 16 grams of cornstarch. This combination mimics cake flour by lowering the protein content, which results in a lighter, fluffier cake. Next, add 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, half a teaspoon of salt, 48 grams of cocoa powder, and 60 grams of whey protein powder. I'm using vanilla whey, but you can use any flavor you have. Whisk everything together. A quick note on protein powder. I originally tried swapping out a half a cup of flour for a half a cup of protein powder, but the cake turned out too dry. That's because protein powder absorbs a lot of moisture, so I adjusted the flour down to keep the cake balanced and tender. Now let's prep the wet ingredients. In a mixer bowl, add 84 grams of soft butter and 250 grams of sugar. You can also use 150 grams of white sugar and 100 to 150 grams of erythritol to lower the calories if you prefer. Beat that for about 4 to 6 minutes until it turns white and fluffy. Don't skip this step, it really makes a difference. Next, add 3 whole eggs one at a time. I like cracking them separately to make sure there's no shell or blood. Then mix in 60 grams of Greek yogurt and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Combine the dry and wet ingredients by adding the dry mix in stages, alternating with 1 cup of warm water. This helps ensure even mixing without overworking the batter. Be sure to scrape the bottom of the bowl to incorporate everything. Finally, I rinsed and chopped 100 grams of sauerkraut and folded it into the batter. Pour the batter into the prepared pan.
Smooth the top and bang it on the counter a couple of times to release the air bubbles for good luck. Bake it at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for about 25 to 30 minutes or until a toothpick inserted in the center comes out clean with a few moist crumbs. Once it's done, cool the cake in a pan for 10 minutes to let the carryover heat finish the job. Then transfer it to a wire rack to cool completely. While the cake bakes, let's prepare the high protein frosting. You'll need 240 milliliters of Greek yogurt, 60 grams of cocoa powder, 30 grams of whey protein powder, and 1 to 2 tablespoons of maple syrup for a touch of sweetness. Whisk it all together, and if it's too thick, you could add 1 to 2 tablespoons of milk to thin it out, but I didn't need to. It may take a minute or two of whisking, but it will come together. This frosting is optional, but it really ties everything together. The protein powder adds a little bonus nutrition, and you can always melt a bit of dark chocolate and mix it in with the yogurt for a deeper chocolate flavor. If you prefer something richer, you could make a simple ganache, which is always 1 part warm heavy cream and 1 part melted dark chocolate. Check the description below for details. Once the cake is completely cool, spread the frosting on top using a spatula or an offset spatula and try your best to get it all the way into the corners.
All right, this is the best part, the taste test. Original chocolate sauerkraut cake, okay? All right, took a bite. It's very moist. Actually, this is really good. It's really chocolatey. I like it. It's like a normal chocolate cake. I mean, you don't even taste the sauerkraut at all, which I guess is a bonus. It's my first time using evaporated milk in the frosting. It was very liquidy, and it kind of pooled on the sides in the fridge, but I smoothed it out the next morning. Now let's try the high protein version. You can see little bits of sauerkraut there. All right, ready? Okay. You don't taste the sauerkraut. It's very moist, but you definitely taste the Greek yogurt. It has a bit of a tang to it. It's really soft, it's fluffy, it's yummy, it's chocolatey. There is something missing. I think it's because it has like less fat, but like this has almost 35% lower calories, 80% more protein, and over 50% less fat. And you can taste it, but it's still very good. And if you care, there's 19% less carbs. Now, if you're looking for a high protein, low calorie chocolate cake, you could technically just skip the sauerkraut, but I'm really happy with how it turned out. But to be honest with you, we gotta stop treating dessert like a secret health project. This is fine and will satisfy your sweet tooth and keep you on track if you're losing weight. But just remember, vegetables are vital to your health and longevity, but can't we just leave cake alone? Your kids will thank you for it.